just finished I, Robot by Isaac Asimov, published 1950. And Isaac Asimov he was a big boy in science fiction. He wrote like 470 books on some nonfiction, but a lot of just science fiction novels. He died in 1992. But I, Robot, you might have seen the movie back in the day, like 2000 something, maybe 2004 with Will Smith. But the book was a completely different than the movie. Like, not just it was like the details were different, it's a completely different arc. If you remember the movie, it's one story. The book is kind of all the recollections of Susan Calvin, who was a character in the movie. She's the robot psychologist. And also Alfred Lansing is in the book too. He's like the director of US robotics. But anyways, the book, it is like I said, it's a collection of memoirs by, it's in an interview of Susan Lansing. And the book opens up and it's like 1998, and the robots, the first ones, are being used as like nursemaids, so they're like raising kids, and it's a big drama about that. Like, people don't think it's okay, it's weird, but the story focuses around one little girl, Gloria, and she loves her robot. The parents try to take it away from her, and she just basically throws a fit about it. She has to have the robot. It's her best friend. She'd rather have the robot than her dog, than her parents. And it just shows how people are getting attached to them. So, there's probably like 5 or 6 different like story arcs in the book, but I think the three of the main ones are, one, there's this one robot. His name was I forgot, but they built him in a space station, and he's like one of the first like fully conscious robots, and it's AI. Okay, they're not just robots; they're AI robots. And so these 2 scientists that are stationed at this space station, they build this robot, and the robot comes to, and he like observes everything, he learns everything, and he doesn't believe that the humans created him. He doesn't even believe in space. Like, he doesn't believe in any of it. He's like, how could you have created me? Like, I'm way smarter than you. I'm way stronger than you. I'm made of metal. You're made of flesh. Like, I could tear you in half. Like, I'm infinitely superior to you, and you're telling me that you created me. And so this robot like forms a religion and gets all the other robots to basically declare it as a prophet. And but it does what it's supposed to do. It does what it was created to do perfectly and flawlessly, to the point to where the humans are just like, well, just let it do what it's doing, because it's not really hurting anything. And maybe it's just crazy. It thinks that its reactor, its energy source, is its creator, and it thinks of humans on a lower level of itself. Like, you once served the creator, but then the creator created me, and I serve the creator much more efficiently than you. You'll have your place, and you'll be rewarded as long as you stay in your lane. And so that's like the robot religion. The second story was about a liar. And so there's 3 laws of robotics. If you've seen the movie, they might be familiar to you. The first rule is a robot cannot harm a human being or cause a human being to come to harm by its inaction. The second law is that a robot will protect its own existence as long as that doesn't conflict with rule number one. And the third law, I think I might have just blended them all three together just now. But anyways, the second main story is about a robot that, so it's not supposed to harm people, but it takes this to the degree that it doesn't want to harm people mentally or emotionally. So it can read minds, and it tells everybody what they want to hear. And so what comes of this is it's essentially just manipulating people to try to make them feel good. It tells this one lady that her colleague is in love with her, so she tries to be more appealing and more attractive to her colleague. And then when the colleague finally tells her that, hey, I'm about to get married and move into this new house, like, she's devastated. And it tells this one scientist that this certain math equation they're working on it's insoluble. It can't be solved, to kind of like brush the scientist's ego when it can be solved, and the robot can solve it very easily and quickly, but he won't tell him because it would hurt his feelings to know that the robot could solve it faster than him. And another dude, it tells him that he's going to be the director of US robotics. It tells him the director is actually already resigned, but his resignation is not going to be public until this problem is solved with the math equation. So he comes to find out that's not true. Lansing is not going to resign, and it basically just kind of plays on humans' insecurities and the fact that they just want to hear what makes them feel good. And so this robot is just basically a bold-faced liar, because it will lie to tell you whatever you want to hear if it makes you think that will feel good. And how they eventually solve this problem is they pose to the robot the problem that, okay, by you trying to avoid emotional harm to these people, you're creating real eventual physical harm to them, because of them not facing the truth creates bigger issues than their feelings being hurt. So it's kind of like, you try to lie to people to make them feel good whenever they're living off of these lies, and it brings upon their own self-destruction. So, and the third one is kind of trippy. The third one is the best one to me, because this man gets in a car accident and he's crippled. He's like, his legs are completely disabled. So he creates this robot to basically kind of live his life for him. He lives vicariously through this robot, and this robot is a big lawyer. He becomes a district attorney, and nobody knows it except this one guy suspects it, and he tries to expose the robot, and he tries to get him to prove his humanity by like eating and drinking and by violating the laws of robotics. So and it's a big like philosophical conflict for he's going for election, right? And it's a big philosophical conflict for the robot and for his political opponents, because for one, he's a district attorney, and a robot is supposedly, it's not allowed to harm a human being. But by sentencing humans in a court of law, sentencing them guilty, they have the death sentence, right? And so he would have to sentence a human. He would have to prosecute a human, where him being found guilty, he could be sentenced to death. So he's not necessarily the one who sentences the human to death, but he prosecutes him. And so it just kind of brings up these interesting philosophies that are contained inside the laws of robotics itself that the Asimov, the author, has created. So it's cool, it's interesting. It's like 220 pages. It's not a really long read. If you're into sci-fi, I mean, you have to read Asimov, right? You have to. I have the Foundation series, which I started reading that like a long time ago and never finished. I read Foundation, but if you're a sci-fi fan, you probably should be familiar with Asimov. I'm not a big sci-fi fan, but it was worth a read. It's pretty short and it's kind of interesting. It's another way it's interesting is because it was published in 1950. There are some other interesting aspects about the author, about the book, and that don't necessarily have anything to do with the book. I probably shouldn't even mention it because it doesn't matter here. But it was published in 1950, so it's funny here in 2023, like in his world, he's created household robots, nursemaids that are like raising kids. That was in 98. And this book covers decades. So at the end of it, it's probably like 2050 or 2060 or something. And at the end of it, robots control the economy. AI controls the economy. So the last chapter was really interesting, but it's basically like robots control the economy. There'll be no more wars. There'll be no more overproduction. There'll be no more shortages. And certain people are against it. There's like fundamentalists, and they're against all robotics because and it's like either the AI running the economy is either going to guide people back to an agrarian society, because it's like it's running the show, but people don't really realize it. They still think that they're in control. Kind of like today with, we have with chat GPT and everything that's happening with that. It's like, you hear about it being able to make money and stuff, and it's like, how long will it be before AI does have an influence in politics, economics, things like that. So yeah, it's pretty interesting in that sense. Kind of prophetic almost. Well, I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But anyways, iRobot, it's worth it. Check it out.